What is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade basketball analysis coming to y'all with a quick video. We're gonna talk about OG Anunoby is what some people call him, but it's Anunoby. And this guy has been scorching good and bad in great competition after they just played the Nets. And he's been putting up some pretty good numbers, efficient from the 3-point line, efficient from the field while carrying a better scoring load than he has ever done, getting 22, 25, 27, 20, and 21, averaging 15 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, in getting a steal a game or more. OG is turning it up, and the Raptors need it as they're going in a different direction. I feel like they was undersized, and that was one of the reasons why I always hated this team because I don't believe that you can be a legitimate threat with Kyle Lowry and Van Fleet being your backcourt, but they bring in some guys that can guard and play multiple positions. And they still have been losing, and they did lose today. But OG was a guy that people question because he has had a huge, enormous injury history. Plus, he has always been that 3-and-D guy. Let me get out in transition, catch and shoot threes, and cut to the basket. And that's all I'm going to do. But when they paid him, they needed him to accede this contract. And a lot of people put him in that Butler, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard category, even when he was drafted, because he was known for his 3-point shooting and his defense to a certain extent coming out of college. And that has translated so far in the NBA. We finally getting a big picture from OG, seeing him play more time, more minutes, more opportunities, and he has had a pretty stellar season and has shown that he is a starting caliber player and he is one of the better perimeter defender. And you can make argument that he is the best perimeter defender, but to be honest, when he has the right talent around him. And that's something that has been a strong loss for this team, losing the Surges and the Marcus Sauls that had the IQ, had the teams back, held them accountable, pushed them to strive, alongside Nick Nurse doing the same thing while also switching and being able to take gambles and risks with his defensive coverages made OG and his team a lot better. But the personnel isn't there, and that's why you have seen this team drop so far down. But OG has been a bright spot alongside Fred Van Fleet, who's having a career year, albeit because of him having to have more responsibility and do more. But he has been pretty good too for the Raptors so far this season. And even though I told you guys that Van Fleet is not a franchise guy, he is not a superstar. He did go for 50. He is averaging pretty good numbers as a starter, but he is a complementary piece. And that's why I tell people be cautious offering Fran VanVleet a lot of money because he isn't a franchise changing guy. But that's fine because he was a big pivotal piece on why this team won the title. You don't need everybody on your roster to be a franchise guy. You don't. And Van Fleet is a guy that understands his game, he understands his role, and he excels at that. And this year has been no different. Same with Pascal. We know that Pascal isn't the number one, but he'll be a great 2 or 3. And he's shown that as he has been a champion too in those roles. The question will be who is going to be the one because it's tough to win a championship with your best player being a guard. And with Anunoby not still really having the shot creation ability, not really having that pull up game that can be reliable from mid range and three, he still isn't nowhere near where he needs to become a number one option. Now, he has shown signs of confidence, being able to handle the ball and get to the basket, being able to go at people strong. That's a start. You know, you have to be able to get some places and get somewhere on the court. And he's figuring that out the last 2 years, I would say. But the game isn't there for him. And that's why I started seeing it tough to really believe if Anunoby can become the best player on a great team or even a championship team, just because it takes consistency. You have to be what he has been this last week and a half. But even if you look at this week and a half, it hasn't been dominant, outrageous scoring. It has been an improvement. It has been a lot better, and it has been something that you would love to see if you're a Raptors fan. But I still like it because OG has to feel it. He has to think it. His mentality has to be kill. His mentality has to be attack. His mentality has to be the finish, and that's how you get the mentality of a scorer. If you always feel like I gotta catch and shoot this three, every time you're in that situation, that's what you're gonna do. You're not gonna put it on the deck. You're not gonna try to go at somebody's head. You ain't gonna try to snap a neck of one of these players just because you don't feel like you can do it, or you're not gonna try to do it. And if you're not gonna try to do it and you're not gonna do it, you're not gonna be able to do those things because it's not mentality. Your mentality is just not there. And to see OG go at people and to see OG try to dunk on people, that's the mentality that you have to have. If we give you the ball and we need you to get us a bucket, you have to figure out sometimes how to get it. And the jumper not being there and the aggressiveness not being there is what hinders him from getting to that level of a scorer. He still is a great player, and that's why I like the contract that they got him under because he is young. He has shown improvement his first couple of seasons. He is a starter. He is a valuable player because his defense is just that good. Plus, he is a great above average 3-point shooter. And that's valuable in this league, especially at the wing position. And that's one less problem that the Raptors have because now they have OG solidifying that role this year. And he has done a great job. Now, I know 15 points isn't outlandish or scary, but a lot of those guys, even Jeremy Grant, they started off as a role player. They started off as a complementary player to other stars, and they have grown because of the need and because of the persistency and the work ethic and the love and the passion for the game and the drive to be great at the game and to want more from the game that allowed them to be something that people didn't see them becoming. And a lot of it is because of the situation. Teams need somebody to put the ball in the basket, and guys get paid to do that. Now, OG is a guy that I can see, if things change in Toronto or they put the burden on him to be this, maybe that can bring it out of him because he's still far from it. But if he wants to take his game to the next level, he's going to have to work on his in between game. He's going to have to work on, you know, picking when to drive, when to pull up, when to pull out, and when to keep the ball moving. Those are the things he's going to have to start off small because we know he can drive. We know he can finish to a certain ability, to a certain extent, but he has to start off with being able to be in attack mode. He has to figure out where to go, what to do, and we call it go-to moves. If you go right, they're going to cut it off. Crossover, hit him with the mid range. Crossover, hit him with the floater. Crossover, drive strong and try to dunk or get to the free throw line. Small little steps like that will allow him to see what works and what doesn't work. Once they try to take that away, he would then have to work on the counter. Spin right, spin left, drive hard right, step back mid-range jumper, step back, go over a screen, drive to the basket, step back, drive to the screen, pull up mid-range. Those small increment changes how a defense sees you. It changes how a defense defends you, and that allows you to pick your poison how you're going to attack when you know you can attack for multiple ways, which will be counters and your go-tos. So you have to start off small, especially when you're not in these situations or you haven't been able to do these things. You have to, build it up. And I feel like that's something that he has to start off this off season. If OG wants to take the next leap, he has to work on at least 4 moves. Whether it's driving, whether it's floating, whether it's stopping, popping, whether it's even, just pulling strong once somebody close out to a three and hitting the floater, hitting the mid-ranger, or even just going all the way to the basket for a free throw or a dunk. Just those small pushes will allow him to see the game different, play the game different, and eventually allow him to be a 20-point scorer, which is something that he hasn't done in his entire career, but it's something that he's showing flashes that he can do this point of his career. So he does have a long way to go, and we still have to see if he is. But when you're signing contract extensions, guys expect you to perform, and he has done that this year. But we also expect you to get better, and that's what the Raptor fans expect. When they signed OG and they drafted OG and they seen what he can do, they knew he could do more. A lot of people knew he was capable of doing more. Now we have to see him do even more than what he has shown the last 3 years. And that's something that we all want to see. Can OG take that leap from being a rotation player, a starter, 3 and D player to scorer? Star scorer, same thing. And then that's when we can see him make the strides to becoming an all-star to superstar. I know it's taking him a little bit of time, but Kawhi Leonard's not there no more, and obviously DeMar is not there. So they need somebody to be there as a creator, as a facilitator, as a playmaker, and as a scorer. And with Van Fleet and guys like Pascal Siakam being there with them, they can help him and they can play off of him and he can play off them too and get easy buckets. Everything don't have to be hard and tough. But also with Kyle Lowry possibly leaving, somebody's going to have to up the playmaking and the scoring to replace what he's going to leave the void of on this roster. And OG and Van Fleet and Siakam are going to have to be those guys if they don't trade or bring somebody in to do it. We done seen Gary Trent hit some shots. We done seen Gary Trent play huge for them. But they need other guys to step up along with him if they really want to go back to being a playoff team, even in the Eastern Conference, if they can't make a big swing to get somebody to do it. Well, this team has been great at developing talent. They have been great at finding talent with Masai, and they still have to continue that because that's what's going to help them get back on track after going from a team that was in the finals and winning the championship to being a roster that was able to get to the playoffs to missing it probably this year. Time tells whether this team can really, afford to lose. We'll see what they get in the draft, basically. And depending on what they do in free agency and the draft can really tell what direction this team is really going in. We know what Nurse can do. We know what some of these guys on this roster can do. But some guys are going to have to take their game to another level if they want to go back to really winning in the NBA. And for them to struggle this way in the Eastern Conference, it's just a bad look for them. I didn't think they would be this bad, but they have been this bad basically the entire year. And that is something to be concerned about if you're a Raptors fan. Other than that, I'll be back with another video on Wednesday. Quinn Wade, basketball and losses, I'm gone. Let me know what you guys agree and disagree in the comment section below. See y'all tomorrow.